Hello, everyone, and welcome into the third episode ever of Auburn Tigers Live from the voice of college football. I'm your host, Taylor Jones, coming to you from the loveliest village on the plains, and we are excited to be talking Auburn athletics with you here in our third episode. The last couple of episodes have been a lot of fun, trying to get our way back into college football season as the summer's about to start. So that means a lot of talking is going to be going on, a lot of recruiting is going to be going on, just a lot of good stuff that will keep us entertained over the next several weeks. And we're looking forward to talking about everything that's going on in the world of Auburn right here on Auburn Tigers Live. Be sure to check us out on social media. Follow us on X at the VOCFB. And you can also check us out on YouTube as well as Instagram, Facebook. And if you're watching this live, you can check out the replay on Spotify or Apple Podcast if you're not able to watch the live YouTube stream, or if you're not able to check it out in any way. If there's I know coming up this week, weather is supposed to be warm, you're out cutting grass, want to listen to the latest news in Auburn football, hey, you can check us out on Spotify, you can check us out on Apple Podcast, and so much more. We thank you for taking time out of your day to listen and check out this week's show. Of course, we'd love for you to be a part of today's show. If you are watching us live, you can check us out on the live comments. Send us your comments, your questions, your concerns, recommendations on what you'd like to hear more of out of the show. We'll definitely take those into consideration. If you have a question regarding recruiting, anything football going on, feel free to let us know in the comments. Have a good one already with a good old WDE checking in. A big War Eagle to you as well, William. Thank you for taking time out of your day and being a part of today's show. But again, we're going to talk about everything going on in Auburn Tigers athletics, but of course would like for you to be the main point of it. Whatever you'd like to talk about, any questions you have, feel free to let us know in the comments. And if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple playlists or whatever, after we do the live show, we're coming to you Tuesday at 7 o'clock, which is a day after we normally do the show. Had to move some scheduling around in order to make this week's show work, but we got it to work. So you can check us out usually on Mondays at 8 Eastern, 7 Central. But if you're not able to check out the show live, you can still leave us comments. You can do so on our YouTube page, and we will definitely take a look at it and check that out. But we've got a lot to talk about this week, and it's basically going to be a recruiting show where we're going to kind of, run down everything that's going on in recruiting. Not so much happen as far as commitments or transfer portal things happening, but there are a lot of really interesting targets that Auburn's going to be taking a look at, and they're going to be welcoming them into the Plains for visits over the next several weeks. I know some are going to be coming as early as May 16th. Some of them, I know offensive linemen that we're taking a look at, a couple of quarterbacks we're looking at. Vodney Cleveland from Parker is going to be coming in. We're going to see some towards the end of the month around Memorial Day weekend. And then when June comes, it's going to be a wide open storm. So we're going to be talking about recruiting today. Going to be talking a little bit about what Auburn has, what Auburn, some areas of concern that they're going to try to fill, and much more in that regard. We're also going to be talking about just football in total, and that's the big story happening around football this week is that a lot of predictions have started to come out. Some of those from On3, some of those from USA Today. Fox Sports has put out some too, and a lot of really good news for Auburn football fans. And we're going to talk about, is that adequate? Are we jumping the gun, or what are the reasonable expectations? Going to be talking about that today. An interesting thing that happened outside of Auburn was Clemson and Notre Dame scheduling a 12-year partnership, which means that those two teams beginning in 2027 will play every year until 2038, kind of, setting up a rivalry series that Notre Dame is known to have with Michigan, Michigan State, USC, Stanford, I think, is in that mix too. They're going to start adding Clemson into a permanent rotation. So that's going to be very interesting to see. What are some schools or what are some teams that you would like to see Auburn play a 12-year total contract? It can be SEC, it can be non-SEC. Going to be taking a look at some of those non-conference rivals as well as some of the SEC rivals that Auburn just doesn't play a whole lot of anymore. I've got a couple SEC teams in mind that I'd like Auburn to play, some non-SEC teams I think would be a lot of fun for a 12-year contract. Not to say that it would ever happen, just because of the way that contracts are nowadays and how conference realignment is. One of the big things that has bitten Auburn has been one with UCLA. They're getting ready to play Baylor, going to play them this year in Waco, going to play them at Auburn next year. They were supposed to play UCLA the next time around, which would have been 2027, 2028. I had, it's crazy to even think about, a schedule that far out, but they had scheduled a home and home with UCLA. It was supposed to go to the Rose Bowl for the first time in the regular season. UCLA was supposed to come back the next time, but the Bruins decided they were going to join a conference that featured majority of those teams on the opposite side of the country. So they don't want to travel to Alabama and then have to travel to Indiana, then have to travel to Rutgers and have to travel to Penn State all in 1 year, which is understandable, but it stinks at the same time because I was honestly thinking about looking into going to Los Angeles. I didn't get a chance to go to the national championship game in 2013. I feel like going there for a regular season game would have been a lot of fun, but that's off the table. But Auburn and Miami have already got a series scheduled. As far as I know, that's the only big teams that Auburn already has a home and home scheduled with. They got Baylor coming up, and then they have Miami coming up. I don't know if they'll move that up or if they're still looking for someone else. I don't know. But we'll take a look in that. And we'll even look at even some of the smaller schools. I know one school this year that's got Auburn's schedule is going to be South Alabama. I think it might be fun to watch Troy. Might be fun to, it's nerve-wracking, but Jacksonville State's going to be on a future schedule. Be fun to see them come back to Jordan-Hare, even though they scared us back in 2015. There's a lot of ways we could look at that, and we're going to examine that a little further into this. But we do have our first question going back into the chat, and of course it's going to be from our friend William, who's joining us live on Auburn Tigers Live, episode 3. Football is getting closer. When are the TV schedules coming out for the first 3 games? I would expect that to happen around probably a week or so after SEC Media Days. I know they kind of surprise us with it every year, but usually what they do is they put together the first 3 weeks. You get through the first 3 weeks of the TV schedule, and then they start doing the 10-day window where they'll announce the following Saturdays, the 2 Mondays before. So if we're looking at a game being played next Saturday, hypothetically, we would know yesterday when that time would be. Auburn's got 3 non-conference games coming up to open the year. It will be Baylor on a Friday, and then they will take on Ball State and South Alabama before getting into SEC play. With the Auburn-Baylor game being moved to Friday night, I could be wrong, but that has Friday night Fox primetime slot. I mean, that's what it's giving to me anyway. So I'm not sure exactly when that'll be, but I feel that being like a Friday night, maybe 8 p.m. local time kick, and it'll be on Fox. Not really sure what that's going to be. The Ball State game, that screams an 11 o'clock kickoff. Let's just go ahead and get it started, get it out of the way. But the last, several early non-conference games, I think of the Alabama A&M game. I think of New Mexico last year, where it was like the 6:45 time frame. So, that could really go either way. I don't anticipate that being a 2:30 or 3, maybe even a 4 o'clock start. But I do see, that being a possibility. And the South Alabama game, could be, another night game before they go into it. But it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. I'm going to try to pull up the Auburn football schedule right now as we've talked about the first 3 games are going to be against Baylor on the road in Waco, Texas, in that beautiful stadium that they have, McLean Stadium. That's right on the Brazos River. And then they'll take on Ball State at home, South Alabama at home. Then they'll go back west. This is a year that is going to be every game that we play conference wise is going to be out west. That's just how it always works out, because you've got the non-conference game at Baylor to open the year. You have two SEC games back to back. It'll be Game 4 at Oklahoma on September 20th, and then Game 5, which will be at Texas A&M on September 27th. So you've got to go to Texas twice in the span of a month. That'll be interesting. And then you're at home against Georgia, at home against Missouri on October the 18th. You'll go on the road to Arkansas on October 25th before coming home to take on Kentucky. You'll be at Vanderbilt on November the 8th, and then you'll close out the year with 2 home games against Mercer and Alabama. So, we'll I believe it'll be after SEC Media Days, which is going to be in July, normally about mid-July, before we start getting things in. I know TV contracts will be ironed out and all that. And William, he does bring up that ESPN does do some Friday night games, and I've got to check out what the TV contract is with the Big 12, because I know they have contracts with both ESPN and Fox, but I don't know if they have like a certain, times, like kind of like how the SEC used to do with CBS and how they do with ESPN now, or with ABC now rather, where it's Saturday, 2:30 Central, 3:30 Eastern. It's going to be an SEC game. Is that going to be the case with the Big 12? I know the Big 12, has Friday night games on Fox. The Pac-12 used to do that too. I believe the Big 10, I guess, does that now with the West Coast teams. So there is a possibility that, it could be on Fox, could be on ESPN, not really sure. But I expect that to be a later than usual kick. I think we're going to be hopefully celebrating at Toomer's Corner at like 11:30, 12 o'clock on that Friday night. But that's just, I don't know. When I first heard that it was going to be moved from Saturday to Friday night, I was like, that just screams like it's going to be on Fox. I don't know if that's correct or not, but that's just my prediction that I have right now. So yeah, we talked a little bit about when the first 3 games would be on TV. And again, thank you, William, for those questions. We're going to get to a little bit more of what he's got to say in just a little bit, but we'll take a look at what's been going on in the world of recruiting. And as we mentioned, not a lot as far as commits go, as far as decommitments go, transfer portal stuff. Not a lot has really happened in the last week. I know the big headline last week was Rayshawn Pleasant announcing his commitment to Auburn, coming over from Tulane via the transfer portal. And I was very excited about that, because not only can he help in the defensive secondary, he can provide some depth and some cushion to Kayan Lee and Sly Smith and some of those other guys in the backfield, but he can also be a dangerous return threat too, which him and Jeremiah Cobb in the backfield is going to be pretty scary, because his numbers were pretty similar to what Jeremiah was able to put out last year, but he had 2 touchdowns to his name. Don't know what the plan is going to be with the return game, because I expect Jeremiah Cobb is going to get a lot more carries than he has the last 2 years, because Jarquez Hunter is now in the NFL, and that will leave Damari Alston. That will leave Jeremiah Cobb. Alvin Henderson will probably get some carries as well. Not sure what the makeup's going to be, but that's definitely something that I was interested in, seeing Rayshawn Pleasant. Because we look at who we lost in the defensive backfield from the transfer portal, and we lost a couple of guys after the A-Day game. We lost J.C. Hart. We lost Tyler Scott. Several others. Terrence Love was another one that went to Colorado. But those guys really didn't contribute much on the field. So knowing that we lost those guys in exchange for getting a guy that is experienced, not only is he experienced in the defensive backfield, but he's also very, very dangerous in the return game. Him in an SEC uniform is going to be pretty dangerous, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he does. But nothing really going on as far as the transfer portal goes, but really we're starting to see a lot more visits being scheduled. and we're taking a look at several priority recruits. And this is a list that was put together by Auburn Undercover 24/7. They put together a list of 5 players to watch out for because their visits are coming up, and those visits more than likely could end in a commitment if things go well. And when I say things go well, I think basically what they have to do after they get on campus, because they've been here so much, because they have vibed with the coaches so well, because they just enjoy everything about Auburn, more than likely you're going to see them commit before they get in the car or get on the plane, whatever the case may be, to go home. They're going to be Auburn Tigers. And the first one to look out for is offensive lineman Dalton Toothman. Dalton Toothman is from Mississippi. He's a 3-star offensive lineman, and Auburn is battling 2 SEC teams, which are obviously Ole Miss and Mississippi State. They're working real hard to keep him in the state, even though he's, more on the southern side of the state in Ocean Springs, I believe. And we're also battling Clemson for him. But Dalton Toothman has had a lot of great things to say. He's been on several visits. Him and Jake Thornton are thriving pretty well together. They've developed a pretty solid relationship. So Dalton Toothman could be a guy that's going to be committing. He'll be taking his visit starting on May the 16th, which, hard to believe, 10 days from the day that we're recording this. It's going to be next weekend that he's going to be on campus. That's going to be a lot of fun. A couple of guys that are really a trio of guys that are going to be on campus on May the 30th, which will be Memorial Day weekend. We'll see quarterback Travis Burgess, edge rusher Jaquez Wilkes, and offensive tackle Wilson Zier. And that name, of course, may be a excuse me, may be of significance to Auburn fans out there, because we had his older brother a couple of years ago. It was the year that he actually played all of his time that he played was with Brian Harsin. It was Killian Zier played on the offensive line. Was a pretty solid offensive lineman for us. Played that tackle position. His brother Wilson is a heavy Auburn recruit. He's going to be in town on May the 30th. Travis Burgess is another guy that has been getting a lot of steam recently for Auburn, as they're looking to add, I would say, at least one quarterback. There's a couple that they've got an eye on, but the one that I feel like is dead set, Auburn's got to get him. They've got the best shot at getting him. It's going to be Travis Burgess. And those that follow Georgia high school sports and Georgia high school recruiting know Travis Burgess. He, you may not know him because, he's a 3-star, but don't let that fool you. He led the Grayson Rams to a state championship last season, defeating Carrollton and Juju Lewis, who is now over at Colorado. So he is a pretty solid quarterback. He's a tall kid, doesn't have a lot of size to him, but he is tall, knows how to throw, knows how to run. He's a guy that Auburn has really been high on, especially this week. You had a couple of coaches go to visit him over the weekend. A lot of media presence has been around him at spring practice as he's gotten started. He feels like spring practice will be around that time, maybe the 1st of June. We could get a commitment date from Travis Burgess. And that's definitely going to be the name to follow as far as who is the quarterback of the 2026 class that's going to fill in. And that's going to be a pretty solid class over the next several years, because you have Jackson Arnold for a couple of years. Ashton Daniels is going to be gone at the end of this year. Deuce Knight, more than likely, going to be stepping up, taking over the quarterback role for a while, but you've got a pretty solid supporting cast member in Travis Burgess, who could be coming to the Plains following a visit on May the 30th. And then Jaquez Wilkes, got to give a shout out to him. Jaquez is from my home county, Randolph County. He is a Wadley Bulldog, led them to the state championship, and he's going to be in town on May the 30th. He is classified as an edge rusher, but he can play edge. He can play linebacker. He can play tight end. You line him up in the backfield, he's definitely going to be running through some people. He can play a multitude of positions, but they're looking at him to be an edge rusher. And Auburn's great track record of edge rushers lately just has me very excited for him. He's 6'4", around the 250-pound range. He is a man. And he's going to be on campus May the 30th, beginning on that date. Should be there through the weekend. And for Jaquez Wilkes, not only is he a talented guy, but he's so close to Auburn. You feel like you cannot let him get away. He's gotten a ton of offers. I know Kirby Smart's looking at him. Tennessee's looking at him. Florida, Alabama. So many other programs are taking a look at him, and you do not want him to get out of your grasp. He's from the same high school. If you remember back on that 2010 team, Terrell Zachary, the running back, or the wide receiver, rather, I apologize. The wide receiver, Terrell Zachary, had that long touchdown catch in the Iron Bowl, same high school. So you do not want him to get out of your reach. So, that's going to be one to look out for. And then the final one is a tight end, Xavier Tiller. And Xavier has been on Auburn's radar for quite some time, but you really haven't seen a lot of traction with Auburn, but you really haven't seen a lot with other teams as well. So you feel like that is kind of a good sign for Auburn at Xavier Tiller at tight end, which that's going to be a pretty solid position group this year, but they won't be after next year, because you have Brandon Frazier is a guy that has been there, through previous administrations. He's been there for a while, and they're looking for a couple of guys to step into that role. Ryan Gay and Hollis Davidson are a couple of freshmen that are going to be coming up in that position, looking to add a little bit more to Xavier Tiller. Could be another one that could commit real soon. Some other ones that we're taking a look at as far as when they're going to be scheduling their visits. We'll go May 16th, which is, again, next week. Is going to be the same weekend that Dalton Toothman is going to be visiting, the 3-star offensive lineman. Two that we really need to look out for is going to be defensive lineman Bodney Cleveland, which I feel like has been Auburn's for a while, but he's playing around. He's not giving us his commitment just yet, but I like Auburn standing with him. Bodney Cleveland, a defensive lineman from Parker High School in Birmingham, originally from the Prattville area. Very great size on that defensive line. Pairing him with Malik Autry is going to be a sight, if we can get him on campus. He's going to be on campus on May the 16th. We talked about Travis Burgess from Grayson being the quarterback that I feel like Auburn has the best chance to get in this cycle. But the other one that we're looking out for is in-state quarterback Landon Duckworth from Jackson High School. And that's going to be a name that we're going to keep an eye on for the next couple of weeks as far as this recruiting standpoint goes, because you have Landon Duckworth from Jackson. You have Xavier Crowell from Jackson. You've got several others that are from Jackson that are in the top 20 of 24/7 Sports Alabama. And we talked about those two. The number 20 guy is a 3-star safety from Jackson, Jamarian Gordon. And the other guy, he's a wide receiver. Trying to get his name pulled up here just a second, excuse me. But he's a wide receiver from Jackson, Keon Chapman, number 10 in the state of Alabama as far as recruiting goes. So you've got 4 guys from one high school that are in the top 10 as far as rankings go. And Auburn has a decent shot at landing, I would say, at least 2 of them. One of them being Crowell and the other one being Keon Chapman. But Landon Duckworth from Jackson, he's going to be visiting on May the 16th, which is the same day that Bodney Cleveland is visiting. If they can somehow get those two to announce their commitment before they leave campus, that would be an all-time epic day. That's going back to Big Cat Weekend a couple years ago in Hugh Freeze's first year when Perry Thompson committed. There were so many that committed during that weekend, and you feel like that's probably got to be up there as far as magnitude goes if you can get those two to commit. So those two are coming up on May the 16th. The one after that, wide receiver Marquez Daniel from Booker T. Washington High School in nearby Tuskegee. And that's another one of those. We talked about this with Jaquez Wilkes, with him being so close to Auburn. You feel like you can't let him get away. And that's going to be another one that you kind of feel like you can't let him get away. Marquez Daniel is the number 9 overall player from the state of Alabama for 2026. He's a 4-star wide receiver. He's not committed, but the only 2 visits that he has so far, and that's as of the timing of this recording of the show, is that he's going to be visiting Auburn. He's also going to be visiting Florida. So those are, the Gators, another one that we've really got to watch out for over the next several weeks. But I feel pretty good about Marquez Daniel joining Auburn's roster, joining the line of 2 wide receivers Auburn already has in Devin Carter and Denarius Gray, a pair of receivers that have been committed to Auburn for a while, and they could be really exciting joining Cam Coleman, who, fingers crossed, we have him for another 2 years, but realistically, if he has another good year this year, we may only have him one more year after this one. Malcolm Simmons, him, all of those joining those 2 guys is going to be is pretty special. So Marquez Daniel coming up on June the 6th. June the 10th, an edge from Muscle Shoals and Kamarian Johnson. And Kamarian Johnson is a guy, taking a look at what he's got. Kamarian Johnson from Muscle Shoals High School. I feel like maybe Auburn's got the best shot of any school in state to get him. Looking at his visit list, he's going to Auburn, he's going to Clemson, he's going to Ole Miss, and he's going to Miami. USC is also in the mix too. So a kid from Muscle Shoals, which we know is, even though North Alabama, that's still, Crimson Tide territory, we feel, because we think of D-liner and so many of those other ones that came from Muscle Shoals, especially edge defensive linemen. So you like to think if we can get them out of the North Alabama Huntsville area, that we're doing pretty good. He's going to be coming in on June the 10th. And as we mentioned, Clemson, Alabama, USC, and Miami, the other schools that are going to be in the mix to land him. So no Alabama in the mix. So that's always pretty good. He's coming on June the 10th. And then a couple that are coming the very next week, which will be wide receiver Sedarian Morgan on June the 13th, and running back Xavier Crowell, which is the running back from Jackson High School that we talked about a little bit ago, him being one of 4 Jackson Aggies that are in the top 20 as far as Alabama recruiting goes in the class of 2026. So Jackson Aggie is going to be pretty loaded again. Don't know what they're going to be like after those 4 guys leave, but they have got a pretty solid stacked roster heading into the 2025 season. So Darian Morgan is the number 1 player in the state of Alabama. That's important. What else is important about him is that he is from Alexander City, Alabama, Benjamin Russell High School. Why is that important? Because we also have a pretty good wide receiver named Malcolm Simmons, who came from that same high school and has done damage in his first year at Auburn. Going to be a huge impact in year number 2. Not to take anything away from Malcolm Simmons, not to be disrespectful in any way. He has impressed me every single week, but he was kind of the dark horse last year. Everybody had their eyes on Cam Coleman. Everybody had their eyes on Perry Thompson. They thought, okay, Malcolm's probably going to get into the mix somehow. So will Bryce Kane, the Freeze 4, if you will. And there for a while, Cam Coleman didn't get the production that he needed. And it wasn't anything that he did. It was just, I don't know what happened the last 3 weeks of the year. We did a piece on that on the Auburn Wire. Go check that out if you have time, on just what Cam Coleman did his first 8 games of the year, or really the first 9 games of the year. He didn't have a catch in the Georgia game, so we're technically going to count that, but not really. What he did in the first 9 games compared to what he did in the last 3 games, the final 3 games, is ridiculous. I mean, they barely threw to him, barely had any touchdowns. He basically had a solid year's worth of work in the last 3 games of the year than he did in the first 9 games of the year. So Cam Coleman had the year that we expected. It took him a little longer to get there, but Malcolm Simmons really blew everybody away. He was 2nd in receptions, 3rd in receiving yards, I believe, and he had 3 touchdowns. So could we get Malcolm Simmons 2.0 in Sedarian Morgan? He is Auburn's to lose from what we're seeing right now. He's going to be in campus on June the 13th. So definitely be on the lookout for that. And then Xavier Crowell, kind of going a little bit deeper into his situation this week. Biggest headline from him is he was planning on announcing his commitment on December the 31st of this year, which was going to be after the signing period or the early signing period. Or it was probably going to be one of those deals where he knew where he was going to go. He was going to fax in the paper, but not tell anybody until December 31st. But he is going to be not doing that now. Is that because he's going to wait later? Is that going to be because he already knows what he's going to do and we could see something in the summer? Not really sure about Xavier Crowell. But the teams that Auburn has to fight for right now, fight with right now, Alabama, Florida State, Ohio State, Georgia, and Texas are the other 5 schools that are in pursuit of Xavier Crowell, the 4-star running back from Jackson High School. Alabama seems to think that he's theirs to lose. I don't really know. But that's the interesting tidbit on him this week is that he is no longer going to be committing on December 31st. So could be a little earlier. But he's going to be on campus this summer. He's going to be checking in on June the 14th. So the middle of June is when he's going to be on campus. There's a pretty good possibility those guys could be coming back at the end of summer for Big Cat Weekend also. So, there's a couple of names to look out for as we talk about recruiting here in the first half of today's show. We'll take a look at what Auburn has on their 2026 recruiting table right now, coming in ranking number 6 in the nation, according to 24/7 Sports recruiting rankings. They have 7 players that are committed, 4 of them on defense, 3 are on offense. I have a pair of linebackers in-state linebacker, Shadarius Tootle from Cottage Hill Christian in Mobile, and then Jamichael Garrett. Started off in Gulf Shores, then was supposed to go to Auburn. Now they list him as is from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Not really sure what his story is. I missed that somehow. But was an in-state guy. Now I guess he's a Louisiana recruit, which, nothing wrong with having a couple Louisiana guys on your team, especially in the Baton Rouge, New Orleans area. Have one edge rusher in Hezekiah Harris. He is the top recruit that Auburn has right now, the number 1 recruit that Auburn has right now, and he ranks number 8, 4-star edge from Mae Jemison High School up in North Alabama around the Huntsville area. He's number 8 in the state of Alabama. He is the highest rated Auburn commitment that the Tigers have right now at edge rusher. Have a safety in Wayne Harris from Baltimore, Maryland. Teammates with Blake Woodby, a player that Auburn signed as a cornerback in the last recruiting cycle. They're high school teammates, and they kind of push that back, trying to get one of those guys from St. Francis Academy, I believe is the name of the school in Baltimore, trying to get a couple of guys from that school for the second year in a row. Then a pair of wide receivers in Devin Carter and Denarius Gray. And Denarius Gray, I believe, this is the right way to say that. Denarius Gray has been with Auburn for quite some time. He committed last year, I believe, as did Shadarius Tootle, as did Jamichael Garrett. So those are guys that you feel like are pretty locked in, but they are starting to get interest from other schools. So I feel like it's a little too early for me to say, don't worry, Auburn fans. But you never really know. And then one offensive lineman from Columbus, Georgia, nearby Columbus, Georgia, and Parker Pritchett. So those are a little bit of what's going on in the recruiting world. A lot of players scheduling their visits, and looking forward to seeing how those visits go. How many commitments will Auburn land out of all those that are committing? And we'll just kind of give a rundown of the top 10 players and kind of where Auburn's standing is with them. And you can check out the full list on auburnwire.usatoday.com. We did a full the top 20 from the state of Alabama and their standing with Auburn. So you can check that out. Still there on our front page. Auburn's in a good chance to land number 1, Sedarian Morgan. Anthony Jones hasn't scheduled a visit from what we can tell, but he hasn't scheduled a visit with anybody yet. So not really sure what's going on there, but that's a name that's been synonymous with Auburn for quite some time. He's a 4-star edge from Mobile, St. Paul's Episcopal. And that's another big high school that if you get somebody out of that every recruiting cycle, you're doing pretty good for yourself. So Auburn's in good standing with Anthony Jones. Landon Duckworth, I feel like that's either going to be Ole Miss or South Carolina. He was once a South Carolina commit. They're still heavily pushing him. Ole Miss is trying to get in there too. Lane Kiffin may beat out Shane Beamer for him. But Landon Duckworth, kind of go ahead and, say he's probably going to be for Ole Miss, but he is giving Auburn a visit, so that does help. Vonnie Cleveland, as we mentioned, coming to town on May the 16th. Number 5, Zion Gibson. As far as we've seen, Auburn has offered him, but no really feedback on him with the 4-star cornerback from Gadsden City, Zion Gibson. Jaquez Wilkes, Auburn in a pretty good standing with him. Missouri, Georgia, Alabama, Texas A&M, Tennessee, several schools that are also after him, but he's a local kid, and you really hope that they can find a way to keep him in. 4-star running back from Jackson High School, Xavier Crowell. Auburn is in the mix to land him, and but also so is Alabama, Florida State, Ohio State, Georgia, and Texas. And we mentioned him earlier in the show, but the big news surrounding him this week is that he had set a commitment date for December 31st. He's no longer doing that. Rumors swirling around that he could be doing it much sooner, could be doing it this summer. Not really sure, but that's a guy to keep an eye on. He will be coming to visit in the middle of June. Number 8, Hezekiah Harris. He's already committed to Auburn, a 4-star edge from Mae Jemison High School in the Huntsville area. Marquez Daniel, 4-star wide receiver from Booker T. Washington High School in Tuskegee. He'll be on campus on June the 6th. He'll also go to Florida on June the 13th. As of right now, those are the only 2 programs that have scheduled a visit with him. And then number 10, Keon Chapman from Jackson High School on the list. He was a UCF commit, backed off his pledge back in December. That was about the same time that Gus Malzahn decided to leave, was forced to leave. Don't really know, but that was when Gus Malzahn made his departure from UCF and announced that he was going to Florida State. Don't really have a lot of info on him as far as what visits he has coming up, but USC is showing interest. Georgia Tech is showing interest. North Carolina is showing interest as well. He's a 4-star wide receiver, pretty good size, 6'4", 195 pounds. That's, a guy to keep a lookout on, even though he's not, really high on Auburn's radar from anything that we've seen. Number 11, Dylan Perter, a 4-star cornerback from Booker T. Washington High School. Again, another local product, but he's already set his official schedule, visual visit schedule, and Auburn is not on there. Vanderbilt, Kentucky, LSU, and Tulane are the big ones to look out for Dylan Perter. Number 12, Shadarius Tootle, already a Auburn commit. Number 13, Jonah Winston, which is the brother of Jameis Winston, that everybody knows so well from his days at Florida State. Auburn recruiting him pretty hard, but as far as what what it looks like for their chances to get him, not really sure. 3-star wide receiver from Spain Park is Corey Barber, coming in at number 14. Few offers from Mississippi State, Miami, Ole Miss, Georgia. Tennessee looks to be the favorite early on. Nothing I've seen says, hey, Tennessee is the favorite right on. But just kind of looking at the trends of what's happening with Corey Barber, Tennessee offered him very quickly. He very quickly turned that around and paid a visit to Rocky Top. So I feel like they're number 1 right now. Again, haven't talked to him, haven't talked to anybody, but I feel like Tennessee may be the running in that for that 3-star wide receiver from Spain Park. Dylan Cope from Hewitt Trussville. Auburn has not extended an offer to him from what we've seen. 3-star tight end from Southside Selma High School. And that's a pretty important name to look for, Amari Towns, a tight end from Southside Selma. Auburn landed 2 wide receivers from Southside Selma last year, Derek and Eric Smith. Derek, of course, was committed to Alabama, but now signed with Auburn. He'll be joining us in the summer. And then his brother Eric will be joining us as well. We just talked about Kamarian Johnson. Auburn is the only in-state school that he will visit as of right now. Linebacker from Oxford, Keenan Britt at number 18. And that's one that kind of hurt me a little bit that he's not coming to Auburn, but that was the younger brother of KJ Britt. He was just a little thing when KJ played. He likes South Carolina, likes the family atmosphere that Shane Beamer and his staff put on. So Keenan Britt has been committed to South Carolina since last football season, I believe, and it looks that commitment to be strong. Running back from Pike Road, a 3-star running back, Jamichael Jones, committed to Ole Miss. Auburn still has a chance, according to On3, has a 26.9% chance to land him. But again, he's an Ole Miss pledge. Not really sure how that's going to play out. And then number 20, Jamarian Gordon. He's a 3-star safety. Again, there's that name, Jackson High School. Doesn't have a visit scheduled to Auburn. What he has right now, from what we've seen, Oklahoma State, North Carolina, Ole Miss, and Florida are the 4 that has scheduled visits with him, but Auburn appears to be out of the running for him too. So that's a look at recruiting. Covered a lot of ground in recruiting. Was surprised that we were able to get that far in recruiting, but a lot of visits being planned. A lot of commitments could be made as summer heats up. So be on the lookout for all of that going on. And we'll, of course, have every recap of everything that happened in the world of recruiting right here on the Voice of College Football on Auburn Tigers Live. Be sure to check us out every Monday live at 8 Eastern, 7 Central. If you can't check us out live, you can always watch the replay on YouTube. You can also listen to the show's replay on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. So we've talked a lot about recruiting, and before we shift gears, we'd like to tell you about our brand new website that has just launched in the last several weeks. Check us out at vocfb.com. You can check out the full show schedule. You can catch up on the latest college football news, share your thoughts on Auburn football and college football in general by checking out our forums. All of that is at voiceofcollegefootball.com or vocfb.com. So we talked a little bit about what Auburn football's expectations are heading into the 2026 season. And, you're going back to our friend William, who's been sending us some questions and comments as we go on. And he asked a question early on about what when the time slots would be available for Auburn's first 3 games. And we mentioned that it would be probably after SEC Media Days is usually when they do that, when they get all the TV contracts ironed out and whatnot. We talked about Baylor being the season opening game, and then they'll take on Ball State at home, and then in-state rival South Alabama at home. And he shared the comment 3-0, let's go. I like that. I like that a lot. I feel like that's very possible for what Auburn's got coming on. But as we mentioned, we'll take a look at the schedule again at Baylor, and a team that went to a bowl game last year. Ball State from the MAC on September the 6th. September the 13th at home against South Alabama. They'll go on the road at Oklahoma on September the 20th. That should be a fun game if Jackson Arnold is still the quarterback, which I'm hoping he is. That'll be a fun reunion for him on September the 20th in Norman. The very next week, they'll go to College Station to take on Texas A&M. And that has been a game that the road team has done historically pretty well in. Auburn squeaked out that historical, emotional game in 4 overtimes last year. That was a ton of fun. They'll go to College Station this year to look to put their win streak up to 2 games. And they'll come back home against Georgia October the 11th. I feel like that's about a week later than Auburn and Georgia have normally played. They'll be playing that game on October the 11th. That's after a bye week, of course, which will definitely take that after going to Oklahoma and Texas A&M 2 weeks in a row. They'll play Missouri at home on October the 18th, at Arkansas on October the 25th, at home against Kentucky on November the 1st, on the road at Vanderbilt on November the 8th. And normally that game wouldn't scare me, but doggone it, there's an NCAA rule that has allowed Diego Pavia to play one more year. And goodness, I'm tired of seeing him. And I hope hopefully this is the year that we can get him. But my goodness, I'm just not happy about playing him again. And then another bye week will happen, and then November the 22nd at home against Mercer. That'll be our FCS game, and then at home against Alabama on November the 29th. Now, several predictions have started to come out on how Auburn could finish. And some, have me excited, but the Auburn fan in me is like, okay, what's really going to happen here? The three that we've seen so far, we'll go with USA Today. Paul Meyerberg, he's a columnist for USA Today, released his post spring re rank, and he does this every single week. He'll rank every single FBS team, and it's not based on what you did 2 weeks ago. It's not based on how you started the year. It's based on what you did that particular week, and he evaluates it and he gives you what he feels is a true grade. And he has put Auburn at number 35 in the USA Today re rank, and a lot of Auburn fans are like, "Man, that's low." He had us at 86 at the end of the year last year. And not only were we at 86, but South Alabama and Jacksonville State both were above us. So a 35 is pretty darn good to open up the year. I'll go ahead and say that. So Paul Meyerberg, that was his first. He's got us at number 35. Believe it or not, the first team that Auburn plays this year, Baylor, comes in at number 36, and then Georgia Tech is right above them at number 34. Joel Klatt from Fox Sports has put Auburn in number 22, which is, pretty interesting. I like that pick. I feel like that's a good, modest pick for a preseason team where you're not really sure what's going to happen. The last several years have just been really tough. You don't know what to expect. They've got the tools there, but until they show the execution on the field, you're kind of hesitant to, give them a pretty solid rating. So 22 is pretty good. I feel like that's a good spot for Auburn to kind of start off the year as an underdog, as a dark horse. If you're ranked number 22 and then you end up in the college football playoff, you're going to turn a lot of heads that year. So I respect Joel Klatt in putting Auburn at number 22 to start off the year. And then there's on three, Andy Staples. My guy loves some Auburn Tigers. Put us at number 13 in the preseason ratings. And of course, social media went berserk on that one. They were like, "Are you serious?" But like, I can see it. I don't like being ranked that high because don't know if I've told the story on the air or not, but I've been an Auburn fan since 2001. I was 9 years old. My grandmother took me to go watch Auburn play number 1 Florida. The atmosphere was so much fun. Damon Duval makes the kick to beat number 1 Florida. I've been hooked ever since. So that means 2003 comes to mind. Auburn is number 1. They're expected to win the national championship. You go to the newsstands and Carlos Dansby and Dontarius Thomas are on the cover of ESPN, the magazine. You're thinking, man, this is going to be such a good year. And then USC comes in, does what they did to us. We had a big hangover game at Georgia Tech the very next week. So, seeing a high ranking scares me a little bit. And I feel more comfortable, believe it or not, and I think a lot of people would probably agree, feel a little bit more comfortable when Auburn's, kind of underrated. So, number 13, I feel like is not very overrated because I can see why a 13 would be a pretty solid preseason ranking because you have a brand new quarterback room, which is definitely going to help a lot if it executes the way that it should. Experienced running backs, even though Damari Austin, Jeremiah Cobb, Alvin Henderson, this is going to be a prove-it year for them. What kind of running backs are they? They're going to get that chance now that Jarquez Hunter's in the NFL. Offensive line is going to be improved. You got pretty much everyone back. 2 experienced tackles that are going to help out as well. That should be pretty good. That receiving core, my goodness, is going to be pretty solid. So offensively, they look good. I like the defensive backfield coming back. I like the defensive front led by Keldrick Falk. So I can understand why the number 13 ranking, but it did catch me off guard a little bit. And hopefully I'm not reading too much into it, but it does kind of make me nervous a little bit because we see number 13, our hopes are going to go up. And then that's when we're disappointed the most. So taking a look at some of the predictions that Auburn has gotten so far this week. Number 35 and Paul Meyerberg's USA Today re-rank, which is, pretty solid compared to where we were at the end of last year. Joel Klatt from Fox Sports has us at number 22, and Andy Staples has Auburn at number 13 in their post-spring preseason quote-unquote rankings. We're going to get into the 12-year partnership between Clemson and Notre Dame, kind of go over some schools I think would be a lot of fun to play if Auburn were to sign a contract with someone. But we've got to mention Auburn baseball and how awesome of a weekend that they had in Knoxville. Just insane, because you get there on Friday. They say, okay, we're going to start at 5:30, but then there's some rain in the area, so we're going to try to get it started an hour early at 4:30. That doesn't work. So they wait until later in the night. They get one half of an inning played. Ike Irish hits a 2-run home run. They suspend the game. We think Tennessee has burned their pitcher because he pitched in the top of the first inning. He ends up coming back on Sunday, but they play a de facto doubleheader on Saturday where they play the remaining 8.5 innings. And then they play another game that made it to the 10th inning before the bottom fell out again. And listening to the radio broadcast, I was out and about doing some things while the first game was going on, and listening to the radio broadcast with Andy Burcham and Brad Law. They talked about, oh, well, if things speed up the way that they should, we should get the game over before the rain comes at 7 p.m. And that didn't happen because it was a back and forth affair, ton of offense in the game. Tennessee forces extra innings, and before they can play the 10th inning, rained out again. So they have to play the rest of that game to start off on Sunday and then play a 7-inning game to get out of the way. And Auburn ends up dominating game 1. They lose in extra innings in game 2, and then they dominate in game 3, 8-1. That win pushed Auburn inside the top 10 in 3 of the 4 major polls, or 4 of the 5 major polls. I'll get it right in a second. Number 5 in Baseball America, which is respect. Number 8 in the perfect game, number 8 at USA Today Coaches Poll, and number 8 in D1 baseball. And then looking at what Auburn has postseason wise, they were a number 14 seed going into the Tennessee series. Tennessee was a number 6 seed. Because Auburn went into Rocky Top, won another pivotal series, because they've got that one. They've got the one over Alabama. They've got the one over LSU, and then the one over Kentucky that are, pretty solid. They're now a number 6 seed, a projected number 6 seed. So that means if things continue to go well, Auburn would host a regional, of course, and then would host a super regional should they win that regional. So they're in a pretty good spot to play every single postseason game until Omaha at Plainsman Park, which is going to be a lot of fun. The last time that we saw both, I'm trying to remember the last time that we had a super regional at Auburn. I know the last 2 that have sent us to Omaha have been at North Carolina and then at Oregon State. Had a chance to win one at Florida a couple years ago, but God bless, just that tough play, that home run that was called after it bounced off the right fielder's glove. Just absolutely brutal on that one. But yeah, there's a possibility if Auburn, continues to do well. They've got 2 series left. Got one against South Carolina this weekend. South Carolina is all but out of postseason play, which trap series, quote unquote. But you feel pretty confident hosting South Carolina, and then you go on the road to face Ole Miss, and you have the SEC tournament. So you have a lot of opportunity to prove yourself and to solidify a top 8 seed, which is what you need in order to lock in a regional and a super regional. According to the latest projection from D1 Baseball, who put Auburn at number 6, they're paired up with Coastal Carolina, the numbers 11 seed. And so something to look out for over the next several weeks, and look forward to doing more baseball-related stuff as we get closer to Hoover. Got a lot of surprising guests that are going to be coming on to talk about Auburn's baseball season and what we can expect in Hoover. So be on the lookout for that over the next several weeks. 14 SEC teams are slated to be in the field this year, according to D1 Baseball. 7 of them, that's 7 of 16, are slated to be host. So that's seeing Auburn doing as well as they are in the SEC and knowing that there are 7 teams that are also slated to host, that number 6 seed's looking pretty dang good right now. So, big shout out to Auburn and their fantastic week on the baseball diamond. No midweek game this week as finals are going on, but then they'll take on South Carolina in a 3-game series beginning Thursday night at Plainsman Park once the dust settles in finals week. But the final thing that we have, the last thing we're going to discuss before we pack it up for the week, is we're going to talk about the 12-year contract that Clemson and Notre Dame pieced together this week. They announced that starting in 2027, they will be playing every year until 2038. It was a contract that was originally supposed to be 2027 and 2028. One game was going to be in Clemson. The other game was going to be in South Bend, but it's gone now to a 12-year partnership. And it's very similar to what Notre Dame has done in the past with Michigan, Michigan State. I feel like they play every year. Stanford, USC, Navy, just schools. Purdue, they're an in-state school, but Purdue has played Notre Dame every year, it seems like. And it's going to be one of those that's we're going to be excited to see as far as being college football fans goes over the next several years or so. But it got me thinking this week after they announced that, what are some non-conference teams that Auburn could play as far as a 12-year contract would be. And, we looked at some of the ACC schools, or some that we're taking a look at just because of the localness to it. They've played Georgia Tech a handful of times. Auburn holds a 47-41-4 record against Georgia Tech all time. They have a 34-15-2 record against Clemson, but I feel like Clemson's going to be busy over the next 12 years. Clemson's going to be busy over the next 12 years because not only are they going to play Notre Dame, but they're also going to play South Carolina as well. Pretty long history with Florida State as well. 13-5-1 against the Seminoles full time. They've played 8 games against Wake Forest, but not really a one that I would look into. Some other non-conference games I feel like would be fun. Taking a look at some of the Big Ten teams, which I don't know if this is ever going to happen, but I kind of wonder if it's going to be a thing where we have a SEC Big Ten challenge like we do in basketball, SEC ACC challenge like we do in basketball. If we would ever see that with the way that conference realignment's going. But they have a 16-15-2 overall record against the Big Ten. Haven't really played many teams all that much. It seems like a lot of them they've played, maybe a lot in bowl games. But for the most part, I'm looking at it right now. Penn State and Nebraska are the two that are in Maryland as well. Maryland, they've played 4 times in history. They're 2-2 against Maryland. They're 1-3 against Penn State, 1-3 against Nebraska, 1-3 against USC, 1-2-1 against Wisconsin. That's another team that they've played 4 times. And again, a lot of those in recent memory due to bowl games. But the other one that, we looked at too, which I know, with the SEC could be a little different with how they schedule. And we'll go back to William. And this is one that I agree with too. I love this rivalry game, Florida. Why do we not play Florida more? I don't know. I would love to see Auburn and Florida play 12 years in a row. I think it would be great. And talking to people that, they follow the SEC or they follow another conference, they're like, oh, Auburn LSU is such a good game because of all the wild games that happen when they play. But at the same time, Auburn has a much stronger history with Florida and Tennessee than they do LSU. Just, giving a brief rundown of what they have. They've played Mississippi State more than they've played anybody, 66-29-2 over the Bulldogs. They've played Tennessee 29-22-3. over Tennessee, 43-39-2 over Florida. And then you look at LSU, 33-24-1, with most of those games coming since 1992 when they had divisions. So, a lot of that history coming with Tennessee and Florida way before the SEC became what it was right now. But those are, a couple of teams I'm looking at. If Auburn were, to sign a 12-year contract, love the idea of playing Clemson. Florida State could be a lot of fun. You think of Georgia Tech too, the old Ramblin' Wreck. I think I can't remember who posted a couple of years ago, but I remember reading an article that that was one of the rivalries that they wish could come back was Auburn, Georgia Tech. And of course, like it was, those were headlined by Michigan, Notre Dame, and, before Texas joined the SEC, Texas A&M. Some of those were involved in that article as well, but a lot of good content here in this show, here on this week's show. Talked a lot about recruiting, gave a shout out to Auburn baseball, talked about the hype surrounding Auburn football, and talked even a little bit about diving into the schedule of Auburn football. And if they were to sign a 12-year contract with a team, who would it be? And I'll tell you what, we'll go ahead and put that challenge out right now. If you're listening to us live, if you're not listening to us live, we'll go ahead and throw that out there for you too, so you can just comment whenever. A team that you would like to see Auburn play 12 years in a row, and of course it, could be Alabama, could be Florida, could be Kentucky, could be an out-of-conference team like Clemson or Florida State. Just teams that you would like to see play on a 12-year basis. Who would it be? We'd like to thank you for taking time out and watching, listening to this week's show. Dove into a lot of good things. We've got a lot more coming up next week. Any and everything going on in the world of Auburn Tigers athletics, we're going to be talking about right here on the Voice of College Football. We've got recruiting visits that are going to be scheduling coming up in the next several weeks. So we'll preview a couple of those visits that are going to be coming up starting next weekend. Some key recruits that Auburn could end up signing. We'll recap Auburn, South Carolina, anything that goes on basketball related. I know Bruce Pearl still looking for a center. Tahad Pettiford, what's he going to do? Is he going to go to the NBA? Are we going to have to look for a point guard as well? Do we already have a good point guard on the team? We'll talk about that as well. And then anything going on in the world of football, we'll, of course, talk about it here on the Voice of College Football. But we thank you so much for taking time out and listening and watching us. And we look forward to talking with you again next week. So until next time, good night and War Eagle.